It's election time across the largest democracy in the world. It is that time when political parties and candidates and their cronies are all on the streets hunting for votes. It is a time for false promises, assurances of jobs and money, reduction of prices and increase of subsidies. But in the more recent past, especially in the last decade or so, we have seen a lot of speeches given by politicians which are propaganda in nature. And there are a lot of fallacies which form part of the agenda. So in today's video, we will look at some common propaganda techniques used commonly in Indian politics and look at the fallacies amongst those. I generally do not do political videos on this channel. However, I think this one was needed. When political parties use fascist tactics and propaganda, they often rely on faulty reasoning and logical errors. This makes it hard to have a reasonable conversation and distorts the truth. So this video is all about and only about exposing the logical fallacies that we see in political speeches and narratives. Hello, I am Anand and you're welcome to the channel which exposes pseudoscience and promotes scientific temper. If you like my content, please do share the videos, and if you haven't subscribed us yet, please do subscribe now. And any contributions that you make via memberships and super thanks go a long way in making better videos, as this is my main source of income. So without any further delay, let's start today's video. First, let us understand what a propaganda is. Propaganda means spreading information in a one-sided or misleading way to push a specific cause or idea, usually linked to politics. Propaganda can include facts, arguments, rumors, half-truths, or blatant lies. The first fallacy that we will look at is called agenda setting. Agenda setting is when certain topics get a lot of attention, shaping what people think is important. The construction of a temple in a certain location is a perfect example of this. Did this country need another temple? In a land dotted with temples of several different deities, apart from numerous churches and mosques, did we need another one? But people were made to feel that they needed one. And that is why Mandir banega became a national slogan. Agenda setting in action. In Indian politics, setting the agenda is crucial. Politicians, media, interest groups all work hard to shape what people talk about. The Hindutva narrative propagated by the BJP is a perfect example for this. The narrative was set and people foolishly bit the bullet. And here is where the logical fallacy of appeal to emotion takes control. In Indian politics, politicians often use emotions to win people over without giving strong reasons. For example, they would talk about patriotism or fear during elections to get support. They toy with the people's emotions to get them to do what they want. They paint this false picture that unless they vote for them, the country is in danger. They are in danger. This can distract the people from talking about real solutions. Instead, they are made to focus too much on scary threats instead of effective policies. The next propaganda technique is demonizing the enemy. In politics, demonizing the enemy means making opponents look really bad, often by using tricks that twist the truth and make people angry. This happens a lot in Indian politics, where parties or countries are painted as villains to get more support and justify what they do. Let us look closer at this idea and see how they use these tricks. A common fallacy which is employed for demonizing the enemy is the strawman fallacy. I'm sure you might have heard about it. If not, here is what it is. One example of the strawman fallacy being used in Indian politics by the BJP is their portrayal of opposition to certain policies as being anti-national or unpatriotic. The deshdrohi narrative blooms out of this fallacy. For instance, if critics raise concerns about the economic impact of a government decision, the BJP might misrepresent their arguments as being against the country's progress or development, painting them as adversaries of the nation rather than individuals raising legitimate concerns about policy implications. We saw that during the farmers' protest and the CAA bill. They have used this tactic to such a severe extreme that many are now left wondering if there is even an opposition in this country. The narrative seems to be either support BJP or you are a deshdrohi. Strawman fallacy is simply you make a false statement about what the critic is saying and then burn the strawman down, claiming that you have broken their argument down. In reality, you have just burned down an incorrect version of the argument. Instead of addressing your actual points, you make up a fake argument that is easier to attack. That made-up argument is the straw man. It is like fighting a scarecrow instead of the real opponent. This is also used when the topic comes about culture. BJP has set the agenda that they are the protectors of Indian culture and heritage. In debates about culture like preserving regional languages or traditions, the BJP might make it seem like those who disagree with them don't care about the country or Hindu culture. They create a false idea that you cannot be patriotic if you don't blindly support everything in your culture. This makes it easier for them to ignore real concerns and paint the opposition as against national unity or heritage. For several examples of this, one need not look too much, but instead look under my videos or Pranav's or Vimo's or Abby Phillips. Anyone who criticizes anything that they consider as so-called Hindu culture is strawmanned and burned down. If you talk anything against, let's say, Ayurveda or express some contradictions in the Hindu literature, you will find some people tagging us as anti-Hindu. If someone suggests improving social welfare programs, the BJP would say they are pushing for extreme socialism, even if they just wanted to help people in need. In these situations, the BJP twists what people are saying to make them seem more extreme so that they can dismiss their ideas without really listening to them. In all these examples, by painting opposition viewpoints as extreme, the BJP deflects attention from the specifics of the policy proposals and instead focuses on discrediting the opposition's character or motives. In India, minority groups like Muslims, Dalits and Christians are sometimes unfairly criticized by the fascist government. They use hateful speech and false information to make it seem like these groups are dangerous to the larger community or India's culture. We all had seen this clip which went viral just a few days ago. Such speeches and acts not only leads to discrimination and violence, but also goes against the idea of India being a country that respects all religions and cultures as stated in its constitution. In here, there is another propaganda technique at work called demoralization. Demoralization is a propaganda technique aimed at weakening morale, confidence or enthusiasm, often by spreading negative or discouraging information. The technique seeks to undermine the resolve or spirit of a target audience, making them feel powerless, disheartened or disillusioned. The BJP has been known to use demoralization tactics against opposition parties by spreading narratives that undermine their credibility, effectiveness or public support. For instance, BJP leaders and supporters often portray opposition leaders as weak, corrupt or ineffectual, creating doubts about their ability to govern effectively. This demoralization strategy aims to weaken the morale and confidence of opposition supporters, discouraging them from actively engaging in political activities or supporting their leaders. Of course, arresting a few of the leaders in opposition and sending the enforcement directorate behind them are a few of the methods that are employed for demoralizing. Journalists, intellectuals and academics critical of the BJP government have faced demoralization tactics including harassment, intimidation and character assassination. Dissenting voices in media and academia are often labelled as anti-national or urban nexus by BJP supporters, with attempts made to discredit their credibility and silence their criticisms. By controlling the flow of information, the BJP can shape public perception and suppress alternative viewpoints. In fact, almost the whole of the media has now been silenced that people have started to call them Godi Media. Moving on, the next fallacy that I want to touch upon is something that Dhruv Rathi too touched upon in his viral video, Big Lie. The Big Lie fallacy is a propaganda technique where a false narrative is repeated relentlessly by people in positions of power until it becomes accepted as truth by a significant portion of the population. It relies on the idea that people may be more likely to believe a lie if it is bold, audacious and repeated frequently rather than a smaller, more believable falsehood. The big lie fallacy takes advantage of the fact that people might just believe something just because they hear it a lot, even if it is not true. It is like if someone keeps saying something bold and outrageous over and over again, some people might just start to believe it just because they have heard it so much. This mainly happens because it puts others at a loss for where to begin with to refute the claims. Need some examples? Here you go. When the Indian government introduced demonetization in 2016, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his supporters said it would make the economy better and stop corruption. But later, facts showed it actually hurt the economy and didn't work like they said. Still, the government kept saying demonetization was a success, even though evidence proved otherwise. This shows the big lie fallacy because they kept repeating something that wasn't true. Supporters of the Citizenship Amendment Act or CAA and the National Register of Citizens (NRC) have often said that these measures are meant to help minorities who face persecution in neighboring countries. They insist that they won't harm Indian citizens, especially Muslims. Even though many people criticize these policies for being unfair and discriminatory against a particular religion, those who support them keep saying they are good and important for the national security. This again shows the big lie fallacy because they keep repeating something that may not be entirely true. The Indian government brought in new farm laws called the Farm Bills, which made many farmers unhappy and led to protests in the country. The government and supporters of these laws kept saying they were good for farmers and would make farming better. But despite farmers' strong opposition and worries about how these laws would affect their lives, the government kept insisting that the changes were necessary to make farming modern and help farmers. In each case, the big lie fallacy is clear because those in power spread false information to convince people that their reforms were something wonderful. By repeating these false ideas, it not only makes people trust the government less, but also creates more divisions in society, showing how harmful propaganda and lies can be in Indian politics. And the final one, which I am going to discuss today, is disinformation. This refers to the creation or deletion of information from public records or textbooks for the purpose of making a false record of an event or the actions of a person or organization. These include false photographs, fabricated videos or sound clips, as well as documents. The BJP clearly uses the social media platforms to spread disinformation and propaganda. This includes the use of fake accounts, bots, and coordinated campaigns to amplify favorable narratives and attack political opponents. The social media is being extensively used for this. The WhatsApp University, Instagram Academy, and Facebook College churns out numerous such disinformation every single day. The BJP has been accused of manipulating historical narratives to promote its ideology and agenda. They have been known to glorify certain historical figures or events while downplaying or ignoring others. This includes downplaying the role of Nehru and highlighting political figures like Savarkar and open support to religious and spiritual leaders. By shaping historical narratives to fit its political agenda, the BJP seeks to create a sense of national identity and legitimacy for its policies. The BJP government in various states have attempted to rewrite school textbooks to promote a Hindu nationalist narrative and downplay the contributions of minority communities and historical figures. For example, there have been efforts to revise textbooks to portray ancient India as a Hindu civilization and to minimize the role of Muslim rulers in Indian history. The renaming of cities and landmarks with Hindu names under the BJP-led state governments has been seen as an attempt to rewrite historical narratives and promote a particular culture and religious identity. The BJP has been selectively promoting certain historical figures who align with its ideology while downplaying or ignoring others. And with social media influencers joining the bandwagon for the sake of views and popularity, the false narratives get a lot of unnecessary promotion on the social media. The BJP has been involved in controversies surrounding historical sites and monuments with allegations of attempts to rewrite their histories to fit a particular narrative. For example, there have been debates over the historical significance of sites like the Taj Mahal and the Gyan Vyapi, with some BJP leaders downplaying its Mughal heritage and emphasizing its Hindu connections. Overall, the manipulation of historical narratives by the BJP aims to promote a particular ideological worldview that prioritizes Hindu nationalism and downplays the multicultural and pluralistic nature of the Indian society. Of course, there are more propaganda techniques that the government uses to hoodwink the people of India. Whether they have been successful or not will be known in June, when the final results will be out. And mind you, I haven't even talked about the unscrupulous Ayush Ministry and Pata Nahi Anjali Baba story. Please comment below if you want more parts describing more propaganda techniques. And if you like this video, you may also like this one, which I did some time ago, regarding the unscientific statements made by the government officials since they came to power. My final advice to all voters of this country is this: your vote is your right. Use it wisely. Please don't fall for propaganda techniques and use your rational brain instead of your left or right. The power is with you. I shall see you soon in another video. Until then, let sense and science prevail.